Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of The Way It Is. And I am your host, Luca Andolfato with Remax Service First Realty. And I'm with my audio engineer, Ben Myers. And no, it's not our Halloween costumes. It's casual podcast day today. We're recording this bright and early on a Wednesday morning. So neither one of us sadly didn't want to make the effort to shower and clean up for it. We had actually a late night last night doing another video production that will air for Halloween, which should be pretty fun for everybody. So stay tuned for that.
It's going to be great. Lots of scares, lots of screams.
Yeah, no, it was well done. Ben went all out. So in organizing it and producing it, I guess, and directing it. So it should be cool. So yeah, so today Ben came up with a neat idea where we're going to sort of just do some random realtor.ca surfing, I guess, eh?
Yeah. So the premise on this one here is that realtor.ca actually lets you sort by the oldest listings on the site. So with this, I was kind of going around to different regions, clicking on houses and stuff that have been up for a really long time, especially, because in this housing market, if your house isn't being sold basically within a couple weeks, there's probably something interesting going on. There's a quirk. Either, it's obviously like a really high-end listing. A lot of it's just vacant land. Obviously, that stuff takes a little longer to sell. But, a couple of these are just kind of really unique homes. Maybe they're they're overpriced. Maybe they're, just kind of got a bit of a gimmick to them, but we can take a look.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So the first one comes to us from Napanee, Ontario.
In our district, anyway, not too far away, that's for sure.
I tried to not go directly into Kingston just because we don't want to
call anybody out.
Exactly, make an enemy of any other realtors.
No, whatever.
Exactly. So this one is a 8-bedroom, 6-bathroom home.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this one in the sense that I remember when it came on the system and saw it and saw the price of it. I mean, obviously it's a pretty stunning Victorian home, and it's got some real charm and character to it, as you can see through the photos. All that ornate woodwork, and a lot of it seems to have been kept intact. And then I think there's some other.
Yeah, that's a really dated kitchen.
Right. Yeah. And I think, again, from the outside looking in, and certainly not here to throw anybody under the bus, but, one over $1 million now is pretty commonplace in Kingston. I'm actually catching myself as I say that because, 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. So, but, even for Napanee, as strong as the market is, $1.3 million is a big number still, right? And I think at the end of the day, you have to find a need, right? Someone who has a need, and I guess it speaks to someone who what would they do with that property, with the size of it? And secondly, if you are looking for in that price point, then people, it opens it up to other possibilities, right? Are you looking for waterfront? Are you looking in Kingston? Are you looking in other centers, right? That offer
that is, in a sense, a major problem. Houses like this in Kingston sell all the time, especially if they're in the Queens kind of ghetto area, because then they get repurposed into student housing.
Sometimes, yeah, depending, and if the math makes sense. I mean, this certainly, again, I haven't been inside the home, but just looking at it, I mean, one of my initial sort of gut reactions would be potentially to, if the zoning would allow for it, to maybe turn that into units. And I know there's probably historical people out there wanting to throw knives at me right now, but I mean, again, bottom line is a single family home. It's
8 bedrooms.
It's a little bit cumbersome, right?
It's huge. Yeah,
that doesn't fit any demographic today, right?
Well, yeah, and like we had a listing that you guys had a listing go up that was a large home like this, and it had an in-law suite and everything, and it took a little bit longer than like a lot of the other stuff that we've had.
Yeah, and again, because it speaks to the changing demographics, how people live in their homes, and not to say that people aren't buying big homes, because we always hear the stories in the GTA of people building these monster homes. I get that, but not then it boils down to now you're getting everything that you want in a home versus an older Victorian home that needs to be retrofitted or doesn't have the, contemporary amenities and features that one would expect in a home for $1.3 million, right? And you can't base it all on historical charm and location, right?
All right. Yeah. All right. So next one, I didn't know that you'd already seen this.
Well, I
this
only seen
specific
it
listing.
online.
Yeah.
I hadn't been in to show it,
Yeah.
so.
All right. So the next one here is 1340 Deserano Road, Marysville.
Yeah.
It is a 0-bed, 2-bath church.
Yeah.
This is quite literally a 1912 church.
Yeah, and those are are again. That's a really niche market, right? I don't know if you've seen any. Actually, have I sold one over the years? I think I have, but I've certainly shown some. These types of buildings and churches and public buildings that have been repurposed into residential homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people, there's actually a small demographic that likes to do that and likes to live in these types of buildings, as residences.
It's kind of like the final frontier of open concept where your entire house
is one just
open.
giant open room.
Yeah.
And then unless you've got some really good sort of vision and a good architect or a good designer that can sort of come up with a plan in terms of separating some floor space or even putting a mezzanine in to create a loft area or something like that. But the fact remains that, we may have touched on this on a previous podcast, I can't remember now, but the fact remains that these types of buildings architecturally always look like the building that they were designed or built to be, right? So you're always living in a church, you're always going to live in a schoolhouse, you're always going to be in that. And again, there are those that they're sprinkled throughout the province actually, and in this area too. Even as close as Inverary area, there's some buildings like this that people live in as homes. So it's what your niche is. It's what turns your crank or doesn't turn your crank, but that's the rub with something like that. And then being in the Deserano area, oh God, I got to be careful what I say, but again, it's about priority locations, right? It's if you're going to do that, do you want to be in that location? What was the price on it? I didn't even see.
So we got to cover it up. What do you think that this should be listed for?
Oh, wow. How long has it been on the market? Does it tell you?
This one here, I couldn't find actual statistics on how long they've been listed, but most of these have been at least a couple months.
Yeah, I could find it, but I would hope it's listed under 500,000.
It is 249.
Yeah, well, there you go. So even that's actually in today's market, that's actually what do you buy for $250,000 anymore?
All
right?
things considered, obviously there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. This isn't a converted church. This is literally
still the pews
church.
are in there. Yeah,
the pews are in there. The organ's in there. Everything's in there. Stained glass windows and everything.
But so in today's world, though, you still got to find someone that has the wherewithal to tackle that kind of a project. And coming out of the pandemic, as we all heard the stories and we've talked about on the podcast, supply chains, contractors, materials, trying to find people to do the work at a reasonable price, that's a daunting task, right?
You're probably looking at
task.
Adding a couple more 100,000.
You're doubling that and probably maybe tripling that by the time you get something you want.
And then, unfortunately, again, because you touched on the area, it's kind of hard to sell something like that to the trendy folk that want it.
Right. And then so it begs the question, once you've spent all that money, are you overpriced for what you've got? Right?
Exactly.
So,
all right. Next one up here. We have in Prince Edward County, a little bit closer. It is it's technically a 6-bedroom, 5-bathroom home, waterfront property. And as you can see, it has a whole lot of space.
Yeah. But that's Hay Bay, is it?
Sophiasburg
Ward, yeah.
Oh, and it's also 8 acres of land size.
Yeah.
Built in 2005.
What does it say about doesn't mention the waterfront. But I think, so there we go. So you've hidden the price on me again. Oh, frig. It's too early in the morning to start testing me. It's certainly a lovely home.
It's massive.
Nice big spaces. I'm guessing it's probably in that 20 to 25 year vintage, judging by the finishings. Maybe could be wrong.
It looks a bit more modern than a lot of these other kind of
Yeah, but you see things like
homes.
this data house, right? That's an original light fixture going back to the late 80s, early 90s, and stuff like that. So,
Even the laundry room is massive.
yeah, no. And again, so, I think there, and I'm going to guess, because it's Prince Edward County, and it was that a hot tub turned into a bed?
It looks like it's a place where a hot tub used
To be, yeah. And
but
they've put a sitting area there
mean,
now, or sleeping or resting area, I guess.
that's pretty nice, looking out onto the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I know over the last decade, there's been a migration of people from the GTA to Prince Edward County. I mean, it got some real cachet, and it got some a real boost in terms of, values. I mean, and this has
Sauna.
everything. So obviously, had this come on probably last year, early on in the pandemic, when everybody was hunkering down and you had everything, you obviously saw the gym there,
There's a hot tub.
the hot tub, the spa, the sauna. I mean, and you're going to work from home. There you go. You've got your little oasis all in one, right?
There's a
little
pond.
I mean, yeah, it looks stunning, right? A lovely gazebo there overlooking the pond. The shoreline and the waterfront, I'm going to guess that might be part of Hay Bay. It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously that's not, Bay of Quinte or anything like that. Well, it might be one of the tributaries. It might be one of the rivers. But, again, I bet you that's, I'm not going to stick my foot in it, but it's over $1 million. So my next thought is whether it's over 2 million or not. And I'm going to say it's close to $2 million. It's like 1.8 to 1.9.
So here's where I think, well, one of the main reasons why it's been sitting so long, it's 3.5.
Wow. Okay. So there, right. So there's a shocker for sure. Yeah. So that's big dough. That's really big dough.
It's 3.5 million. You're obviously trying to reel in the big fish, but
Yeah,
you gotta
and
be
I
more
think,
patient for the
and
big fish
again,
to
when
bite.
you see something like that, it's hard to say what's happening there in terms of the conversation between the property owner and the agent. This could be perfectly just the owner driven, where they say, hey, it's the pandemic. We don't need to move. If we get a number, we get a number, right? Hard to say, but certainly that's a big number
Yeah.
I mean, I'm again, not slagging the property whatsoever. It looks stunning.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. We have a 4-bedroom, 4-bath farm. So this is the little kind of bungalow style farmhouse, and this is the property.
Wow.
So you get
All these outbuildings.
exactly now.
And then
believe
acreage,
you
tillable
also
land.
have the land here. So I felt this was an interesting one because selling a farm, I always wonder.
Farms are difficult to sell. Well,
Yeah.
I should categorize that or qualify that. Insofar as if it is an actual deemed a working farm and has that status, then there's some tax implications in terms of buying it and HST and those kinds of things that you need to look into.
we see the
taxes are
annual
7,000.
property
So it
tax.
is probably zoned as a farm
Yeah.
because that's what you get. If it's zoned as a farm, you get to reduce your taxes substantially. But financing them is very challenging. So you need to have some. And so there again, that's not too dissimilar to the first house in Napanee or even the schoolhouse or the church rather. You need someone with a need, right, or has to want to have a use for those outbuildings, a use for that land. I mean, the photos of the home look wonderful. I mean, but it's an older bungalow. You can tell by the field stone on the front of it from when it would have been built in the era that it would have been built. So I bet you that home is not dismissing any updates inside, but I bet you the home was built at least 40 years ago, maybe even more, given the architectural style and the outside, the bay windows, those kinds of things, right? So again, it's just one of those, and it's in an area where, we're talking Concession Road 7, depending on how close it is, Clarington. So depending on how close or far away you are to an urban center or amenities or anything like that, how remote you are, that's another factor that weighs into it, right?
So you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, too, I could definitely see many people lining up to buy this specific house. But the problem is that it's also attached to 25 acres of
Well,
farm
and yeah,
land.
and again, I mean, I know I've had calls though last year where people from other centers, larger centers, were looking for this type of a property, like acreage, it was really bizarre. I got a call from a guy wanting to. There was a lavender farm for sale in not this area, but like Prince Edward County or whatever. And that was like a big thing. They wanted to get into lavender farming. And I said, do you have any experience doing any farming? No, we don't. And like they're IT people, and I'm going like, what are you thinking? Like, what do you think? You just walk in and buy it and you start becoming a lavender farmer or something? I mean, because you can sell scents and soaps and things. Anyway, it was just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But again, it's timing too. And I guess obviously it's going to be sticker price too, right? What's
Yeah.
happening here
So
now? Clarington? I don't know.
what do you think?
I'm missing the mark here every time, but I guess
You've been getting close on one of them.
I would say that's probably Clarington. I'm gonna guess that's listed for
25 acres.
yeah, I know. 1.5. Cheapers, creepers.
And this right here is why 3.4
9.5. Yeah,
million. It's $4 million.
yeah. I mean, you could not to dismiss the quality of the buildings or anything like that, but for 4 million, for 4 schmil, you can build a lot of steel frame buildings like that.
Honestly, I almost wonder if, because like this would be perfect for like some construction company or someone that needs a large
Yeah, but
warehouse.
but it's a farmland. I mean, you'd have to decide. I think it's own farm, given how cheap the taxes are. But for the fact remains. I mean,
Like, what's the rules about breaking up farmland property? Is there like
well, severance is always agricultural land is the hardest to sever because the most of the municipalities in their official plans don't want to see it converted to residential.
Gotcha.
So.
Because I was going to say, at the very least, this is a massive, massive building here.
Right, but it's not in an industrial setting. So I mean, whatever. Unless you're some kind of, like you said, that you got to find someone with a need for
I
that
know.
stuff, right?
Yeah. So again, between the
Jeepers.
price and the size and everything that kind of comes with it, it's kind of a white elephant in itself.
it's yeah, that's a big number.
Yeah. All right. This is a triplex
Yeah,
over in Oshawa. As you can see, it's pretty modest. Nothing a whole lot special. And it's
yeah, speaks to its age. That's again,
Yeah.
that's built in the late '60s, early '70s. Given I think how the wood is and the finishings that you see and the architectural style of the building. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have those here in Kingston. Portsmouth Village has a triplexes similar to that. Even parts downtown in city center like Regent Street and Park Street and stuff like that.
so what
Yeah.
do they normally go for?
Well, as you
in
see, so now
Kingston?
you're getting into multi-res, even though today the model is thrown right out the window. But I mean, when you get into multi-res, you're talking income and expenses, and normally value should be derived from what the income and the potential. For all our investors, we do these financial analysis, right? So
Yeah.
we weigh basically given the income, given the expenses, given some projected expenses, because a lot of agents don't list the actual what you needs to take to operate a building like this. You've got insurance, you've got taxes. Are you going to manage it yourself? Property management. What the mortgaging would be like to buy it, today's rates, a maintenance component, a vacancy rate component, right? So what we do is we come up with a return on investment plus a capitalization rate. So now the capitalization rates in Ontario, especially in the GTA and here, have dropped significantly. They used to be close to double digits. A good capitalization rate was at least 5%. That's dropped below that now to around 4 to 4.5. So I mean, again, but now like a triplex just got listed literally yesterday on our system on Yonge Street in the Portsmouth Village area for $899,000. So that's big dough for 3 units. Now you're talking almost 300 a unit.
Yeah. So here we're talking Oshawa. It's,
Yeah. So which would be, I'm going to guess it might be close to double that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's like 1.5, 1.6.
You're not bad. Not you're much closer on that one there.
Yeah, yeah.
1.2.
And
Yeah.
you see, I don't know how people are doing their math, because that's the other thing. To buy those things, you're putting minimum. Well, I'm not saying you can't put the minimum you can put down is like 15%, but then you have to underwrite it, and the CMHC premiums or the underwriting premiums are extremely punitive. So more often than not, you've got to go at least 20% down. And at 20% down, if you're not getting at least a 5% return on your money, it begs the question, why do you need to get into the multi-res business to run a building and deal with tenants and all the rest of it and stuff? But,
all right, let's move on here. Battery's dying, so I'm going to jump to a few of the more interesting ones. This one is in
Otonabee, South Monaghan. Wow, never heard of it.
It's kind of much more north, much more west.
Okay.
This is where I found this one. And it is a tiny home.
Go back to the front photo. Oh, it's a tiny home. Like built as a tiny home.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Literally a tiny home.
Well, that's the thing. We're building them here in Kingston for those homes for heroes there. That's that initiative that started by the municipality, by Kingston. And they're going to build some of those tiny homes for veterans.
I mean, the whole concept right now of like...
Does it say the square feet, just out of curiosity?
Is more.
540. Wow. So that is like an apartment, essentially. A small bachelor, I guess, or one bedroom, I suppose. But wow.
Land size is pretty small, too.
Yeah. And it's got municipal services, I would assume, or some kind of services, obviously, water, sewer, or some kind of well or septic. So I mean, it looks lovely, well appointed. You know why I asked before you told me it was a tiny home? It actually looked like a modular home, like a trailer that had been taken off its thing and put on a foundation, just by the way it was built, and that bridge going right across the spine going across the ceiling there.
You can see here that it is on... actually, I'm not going to say whether this is... Yeah, okay.
But it does give that have that sort of feel to it too. But yeah. So, I mean, it's certainly I
mean, you get more privacy than in actual apartments, and you still, aren't paying for it.
And it fills a need, right? I mean, not everybody needs a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot home or whatever and stuff. So,
and I mean, this in itself has 3 bedrooms, which is crazy to think about for the size of it.
Yeah, it is.
So, with that in mind, it being in an area you're completely unfamiliar with.
Wow. At 540 square feet, I'm going to guess that's 249.9.
159.
Wow. See, that's even better.
That's a pretty good deal, right?
Well, what do you buy for 160 grand that looks like that?
I know.
You're not buying anything here. I can tell you can't even buy a tent here for that.
So honestly, if considering hopefully that they have decent connections to
well, it's either got to be on a well and a septic, presumably, which is fine. But why wouldn't you? At $160,000, your mortgage payment at today's rates, you could not rent that thing. You could Airbnb that and pay off your mortgage in 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Like, it's crazy.
It's so small, it doesn't even list an annual property tax.
They probably don't know how to assess those yet. That's the thing.
Yeah. All right. This was an interesting one. This one's been in Peterborough listed for quite some time. It's a 10-bedroom.
Jeez.
And at first I was thinking, maybe it's like in the center where you could kind of cut it up. No, it's just literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it looks like it's had some...
It's seen better days. There's no interior.
We should have taken a road trip and filmed our video there last night, because that looks kind of...
There is no interior shots.
That looks creepy.
Yeah.
So that's got to be potentially tenanted or rented.
Yeah.
It's early in the morning. And I've only had one cup of coffee.
Full occupancy.
Oh, so it's a rooming house? Yeah. See, so it's a rooming house. So there you go. So
gross income,
55,000. Yeah. And you can tell from the outside that, So, I mean, again, that's now... Listen, on the news, CBC last week, they had, this is one of these. They're trying to come up with initiatives between municipalities and developers to generate these types of homes to help ease the homelessness crisis, or that crisis of, i.e., those that can't find affordable housing, because there are those that are on the poverty line or just above the poverty line that would rent just a room in a home like this with shared services, right? Meaning like either a common kitchen, common bathrooms. So there's a need, but unfortunately, historically, my experiences with the ones that operate in Kingston have never been good. It's a shame, because a majority of the landlords don't reinvest in the properties and really don't. It's a vicious cycle. So they're not well kept properties that attract lower quality of tenant, and it's just a cycle that keeps
Yeah.
sort of spiraling down, unfortunately. But
We've tossed up talking about like that stuff on the podcast. Maybe we will in the future, but you're right. There is a major problem for like a lot of that affordable housing.
absolutely, yeah.
Now, that being said, considering what the gross
So
income
at
is,
55,000 gross income, if somebody's probably doing like, I don't know, 5 times the gross, I don't know, it's listed at 1.5, 699. That's not bad.
yeah.
But again, owning and managing a property like that is challenging,
Yeah.
really challenging. Yeah.
I believe we'll conclude. But actually, just a quick fire one here. We have this triplex here in Quebec, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
How much do you think?
299.9.
$299,900.
87.9.
Honestly, you could.
There
I don't
you
think
go.
you could get cheaper property than that
No,
ever.
that so you could buy yourself a Cessna and learn how to fly and just pop in and out of your house, so your triplex there and stuff. So
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it for
that's
today.
awesome, Ben.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting that together. And I guess I got to sharpen my game in terms. Well, I mean, in terms of, if we had stayed in Kingston, obviously, I think I would have known a little bit more. But but you know,
Yeah.
again, just I guess as just a conclusion, the theme there though is, you know, the prices I guess for some of those were half of what they're posted at. And again, I've done this for 33 years. Not knowing the areas is one thing. Knowing the market we're still in is another thing. And for me to, you know, not say those prices says something too, right? So, and hence why they might be still posted on realtor.ca.
Exactly. I'm sure if I keep looking, I'll be able to find a bunch of real interesting ones.
But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.